Why hire a film wedding photographer? Digital photography has been the norm for well over 20 years. So why would you want analog photos with actual rolls of 35mm film shot on an old camera? What is it about this art form within photography that has not only endured, but has seen a real resurgence with the digital native generation also digging the film vibe? I'm going to start by just sharing a little bit about my approach to film photography, because it is probably a bit unique compared to many other photographers out there. Though I am firmly a digital photographer, I love to take just a roll or two of film at weddings. I would never actually want to shoot a whole wedding with film, because to me, it's more of a fun novelty. Film complements the main work I do, adding another dimension to my creativity and unlocking a different part of my brain. Film adds a touch of whimsy, fun, nostalgia, and unpredictability. There are some photographers out there that take a very different approach. They may have been shooting film for decades, so film isn't just a new fad for them, it's just what they've always done. Yet other wedding photographers specialize in the fine art style of film photography, a much more serious and highbrow form of art than the point and shoot that I typically favor. Personally, my philosophy with film is to embrace the serendipity and the happy accidents of the medium. I love its imperfection and the raw, nostalgic feel. I want film to look like film. Lots of grain and flash, the unmistakably vintage tones. I want those photos to remind you of photos from your childhood. To me, any film camera that's too perfect in how it renders a scene looks kind of too digital, which to me defeats the object. My film equipment, just in brief, I have a 120, it's a Holga 120 GCFN camera, and I've been experimenting with these Holgas with various models since about 2019. The Holga is literally a toy camera designed, I think, in Hong Kong in the early 80s. The zone focusing system is all manual and it is extremely low tech. You have to actually wind the film to advance it. The entire instrument is made of plastic, except my newest one, which actually has a glass lens. You can actually pick one of these up for less than $60 brand new. There are not many settings on it, but it does allow you to do everything manually, and it even has bulb mode, meaning that you have to kind of take a guess at how long you think that the shutter should stay open for a decent exposure. And it does make for some interesting multiple exposures and a lot of usually unintentional motion blur. I love working within its extremely restrictive capabilities, and the fact that it's a literal cheap toy makes me so crazy to just push those boundaries of creativity. My other and more recent addition to my film camera collection is my Contax T2. I added this to my lineup. It is a premium 35mm point and shoot camera costing around $1,200 secondhand at the current time, although the price really does fluctuate. The Contax T2 enables that nostalgic look that many of us grew up with. The camera was actually manufactured in 1991. It has excellent metering and is the exact opposite of my Holga that I just talked about, in that it's completely automatic. So it has autofilm advanced exposure and focusing. And incidentally, this is the same camera that Kendall Jenner took on the talk show with Jimmy Fallon. It's like she knew what she was doing with this camera. It takes gorgeous shots in any lighting. I love that it has a powerful flash built in for that sort of upgraded 90s disposable camera vibe. Though I have whittled it down to just those two film cameras, it has been a long journey to get here, and I've had so many film cameras in my possession and then have ditched them all for various reasons, either because of unreliability or impracticality. So I'm really happy with the lineup that I now have, and these are the two cameras that I will be using for weddings going forward. So here are the reasons to love film photography. The unmistakable vibe. So I'm going to start off with the most nebulous one just to get it out the way, but you know what I mean. Film has this vibe that's really hard to describe. It's vibey. It's a counterbalance to the perfection that we get these days with these crisp, digitally enhanced, AI enhanced, ever improving phone cameras. According to the opinion of many tastemakers, we're seeing trends in visual culture that specifically move away from the Instagram perfect aesthetic, which is in itself becoming kind of old. Curated perfection is out and embracing whimsy and imperfection is in. This is why we're seeing the resurgence of film and the blurry photo trend. It's not that film is technically better than digital. In fact, it's often markedly worse, although there is nuance to that, but it represents something that people view as more authentic, partly because it harkens back to a bygone age, and nostalgia is in, baby. Even though your film images will be delivered digitally, film brings a tangible and timeless feel to those images. Labs these days don't actually make prints unless you ask for them, but they are actually digital prints these days anyway, unlike the old days. So with film, it is not so much about the quantity, but it's the quality and it's the unmistakable vibes. The magical, can't put my finger on it quality of film. Film photography has indeed a magical quality. It's like the difference between a vinyl record and streaming on Spotify. The grain, the imperfections, they all add character. Even with all our advances in digital image manipulation, there is yet to exist a means of really recreating the tones and the quality of a film image. The colors are different from what digital cameras can capture. You get not just photos created from zeros and ones, but pieces of a unique artistic experience, complete with elements of serendipity and happenstance. There are light leaks, accidental double exposures, put my finger on the lens moments. This aesthetic is a deliberate counterpoint to the overly curated, perfection-focused style that has become common with digital photography and particularly the relentless progress of cameras and smartphones. For anyone that's into analog processes or is interested in old photos, it's a must. Film is timeless and evokes nostalgia. Film enables me to capture emotions in a way that transcends trends. Digital photos tend to contextualize image within a particular time, not to mention the editing that photographers do in Lightroom, which even if we edit sort of timelessly, does bring it back to the time period that we're living in now, just like color grading in a feature film dates it exactly. The film cameras we use today, they are the same film cameras that were manufactured decades ago. So as you can imagine, there have been few innovations in the film world. So it's more than an editing gimmick, it's actual old tech. It's funny, as a photographer, I can easily, or at least I think I can easily tell the difference between a film versus a digital image. And there have been some very good film emulations on digital, but they have been created by similarly obsessive photographers. A little story for you. Someone I follow on Instagram, a non-photographer, posted after her vacation that her film photos are in, and she did a film photo dump. But here's the thing, they were definitely not film photos. They were just bad phone photos with a filter on them. I thought it was pretty hilarious that film has become so popular that people are faking it for clout or something. I've had clients comment that the film shots remind them of their childhood, that they love the way that you can't tell what period of time the photo was taken. It blows me away that non-photographers can also see and experience exactly what I do when I see a great film photo. As so many people use words like timeless to describe how they want their wedding photos to look in general, adding film is a shortcut to that end. Film has a soft, vibrant feel, almost like a memory. Film is elegant, nostalgic, with a soft and vibrant aesthetic. It's hard to describe, but hopefully the images here are also doing some of the talking. There are two main film stocks I use when shooting weddings, though I have tried many. Kodak Portra 400, or when I can get my hands on it, the 800. It's very hard to come by and extremely expensive. The second is Ilford HP5, which is a low contrast black and white film. I love how both films handle highlights beautifully, even in somewhat harsh light, and will soften them in a way that no digital camera will do, that would be prohibitively time consuming to do in post. So what does that mean for you? Flattering photos with fewer harsh shadows. The dynamic range of film is unsurpassed, even when comparing the lowliest of film cameras with a top of the range digital camera. Yet, rather than flattening out the tones, film actually does a beautiful job of making images pop effortlessly. It is quite extraordinary. When I use my Holga, the low-tech camera in particular, I especially love the soft look, which is caused by the motion blur, missed focus, or multiple exposures. In fact, these images can go too far from reality and look more like paintings than photographs. Think less tack sharp, pixel peeping digital perfection and more like images that capture the mood or the ambience of an event. Many of these images succeed in feeling like a memory, the way it's kind of fuzzy and imperfect. To me, this pairs perfectly with the sentimentality of weddings, the way that our memories get a little fuzzy over time, just like some of these blurrier kind of images. Film unlocks mindfulness and creativity. With film, I have to be more mindful and creative. Each frame is expensive, and there is a literal hard cost each time the film advances. It's around $4 at least per shutter advance, even more for the 120 film and the film stock that I favor the most, the Portra 800. Limited shots per roll make each frame feel more intentional, creating a sense of anticipation and care in the process. That translates to less spray and pray, which is honestly my default when digital shooting because I don't want to miss anything. Instead, there's a lot more slowing down, careful composition, and carefully timed shots. This thoughtful approach means that I curate each shot. I rarely delete film shots at all unless you cannot make anything out whatsoever, or I just caught a horribly unflattering facial expression. The way I shoot when I'm shooting film, I've noticed, is that it's different from the way I shoot digital. Things that I wouldn't necessarily bother taking a photo with on digital are suddenly popping into my head. I'm getting this like unmistakable urge to take a damn photo. It's pretty interesting if you ask me. I'm a little bit of an obsessive. The upshot of this is that you not only get the same things photographed on a different medium, but you may even get a whole new subject matters and compositions that catch my eye specifically with film in mind. Film forces us to slow down. In a world of overstimulation and instant gratification, film brings slowness and precision back to your wedding day. When working with film, it's usually a quick process for me to dial in the settings, but I do think carefully about what I want to capture before I click the shutter. I ensure everything looks good and there are not a ton of distractions in the background. When I think about composition, lighting, backgrounds, wardrobe, etc., you can bet that I nail the shot 9 times out of 10. I am very selective about the moments I capture with film, bringing intentionality, serendipity notwithstanding, to everyone. I never overshoot on film, so the moments that are captured have a special significance highlighted through this unique and compelling visual language. You will get your digital sneaks quickly, but there is a waiting process when you have to wait for the lab to develop my images. My lab is in Florida and I'm in California, so it takes a week just for the film to get there, and then I have to wait until they get around to processing my rolls. After I receive the scans back, I don't perform any further edits on them. It turns out I am a purist when it comes to film and photography editing, the complete opposite of my digital editing. It's double the fun when it comes to gallery delivery day, as you'll see the film scans are in their own tab within your gallery. How fun is that? It's like the best, most delightful little bonus when you thought you were done seeing your wedding photos. You get to relive some of the key moments and detail, but through that fresh lens and a different medium. Film is unique, or at least not that common. There aren't too many photographers out here in the San Francisco Bay Area that offer film photography. It is a time-consuming and sometimes painful learning curve and a considerable investment to purchase equipment, education, and not to mention film developing, plus the time out of your day to send or drop off the film after each wedding. And it's still a gamble whether you're actually going to be any good at it or whether enough clients will want it to make it worthwhile. Well, I took that gamble back in 2019, and I have been refining my process and my eye ever since. Truly every single roll since then, and there have been a few hundred at this point, has taught me something. I've arrived at a place I'm truly happy with, though it is an ongoing journey for sure. I'm not a film photographer, nor would I ever want to be. It's just that like fun little bonus, like I said, that I'm able to offer as a relatively inexpensive add-on to your existing photography package. One that we all get to have some fun with. It's not high pressure, it's just vibes. My point is, I've developed this skill so that my clients have the option of adding this on without any fuss if the idea intrigues you. And hey, if you aren't as enamored with the shots, it's no biggie. it's not like you've wasted a great deal of money. There are even fewer wedding photographers that offer film photography at San Francisco City Hall, so I hope that helps me stand out to those discerning couples that are interested in this. It's something I've worked so hard on, as the building is actually really dark compared to the bright, sunny outdoor vibe that a lot of point and shoot toy cameras work best in. Interested in learning more about how you can experience the joy of film photography on your wedding day? Reach out via the website linked below to chat about adding film to your San Francisco Bay Area wedding photography package.